Why did you divide the book into 4 different sections?
Well, I think it relates to every reader and everyone else. Basically, that our life is kind of segmented into different ways. We have our career, we have our education, we have our personal and our love and relationships. And so I divided them up because I think it best will be absorbed by the reader.
Well, what can a reader expect to get out of reading Blue Collar Buddha?
I think they'll learn how to balance their outer success with inner peace and live a life without limits.
Hey, that's a winning proposition. Well, let me ask you this. What did you learn about yourself during the process of writing this book?
Well, it's funny because a lot of times you don't really look objectively at yourself. You just, go walk through your life, you're living your life. In writing the book, I was able to actually look at myself more objectively, and I realized, hey, I'm a survivor. I'm a person who attacks life with a passion. I don't quit even when it gets tough. And if I really want to do something, nothing holds me back from doing it. And going back and looking at the stories, I realized that that's who I am.
Uh, hey, I like that. Now, it's rare that a book features stories about business, romantic relationships, and childhood issues all in one book. Why did you think that combination would work so well in Blue Collar Buddha?
Well, I think that, again, we can be taught things academically, and I can read a textbook on how to run my business or how to fix a car, this and that. But if my mind's not straight, if everything else isn't working right with me, I may not absorb everything, I may not apply it properly. And I think that when we're able to look at our life in all those areas and have them in balance, that's when we start to live a life without limits.
Okay. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to your early struggles in school and how you overcame a poor self-image caused by poor grades to become a confident and successful entrepreneur. And I know that people would like to know what are some of the keys to that transformation. In the introduction, I really liked what you wrote. Instead of hating what was wrong with me, I began liking what was right with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what happens is we get caught up so much in what we can't do, or maybe we just haven't been taught it yet, and we get so caught up in it that it really locks us down from doing what we can do. It was really simple for me. Once I discovered that formula, all I did was start to focus on what I could do well. And when I didn't do well, I supplemented. Once that started to happen, everything laid itself out for me. I started surrounding myself around the people that did things better than I did. And lo and behold, after a little while, I started to absorb those qualities. So they actually taught me what I needed to learn or what needed improvement with me. And the things that I was really good at, I was able to share with them. It was a perfect balance.
Well, I like what you said about start with small successes, and once you understand and feel like what it's like to be successful, then that leads to bigger successes.
Oh, absolutely. I used to advise. I still tell people about this all the time. And I bet you everybody that's listening to this can relate to this. How many times have you had a friend, a coworker, anybody come up to you and say, oh, this is happening, all these things are happening, I don't know what to do, I got all these bills, I got all this. I said, wait a minute. Let's take one problem at a time. Let's divide and conquer this. Let's take one small issue. You can't move the mountain at once. You got to take scoops. And every time you take one scoop, you have less scoops you have to worry about. And after a while, before you know it, you're going to just have little speed bumps. They're not going to be mountains and walls. You're going to be able to go right over them with ease, without any issue. And for me, that was a really important key. I was looking at all these problems at one as a whole. And when I realized that, they're just small individual little problems. We all have them. And all I had to do was start conquering each one. And as I conquered one at a time, the others got easier.
Well, let's take a scoop out of the book. What are some of your favorite stories from the book?
Well, it's really hard because obviously it's my life. So many of the stories are favorite. I experienced each and every one of them. But I think choose what subject matter would you like me to go into as far as, do you want to go to personal relationships, business, education?
Yeah, relationships.
Well, I'll tell you what, in relationships, I know one thing, is that you have to be conscious of what the other person needs, but you can't also force your ideals, and you can't interfere too much with their own personal growth. You know, it's important to be a supporter. It's important to care and do everything you can to help them. But when you start to interfere with things that are important lessons for them to learn, for example, in my case, I would see somebody that I was madly in love with. And what ended up happening was, like me, we all have hiccups in our life. She had some financial issues. And what I tried to do is mull those over by helping her financially. And when I realized after a while, I put a wedge into our relationship with that money. And what I could have done is helped her more in the lesson learning and give her the tools to take care of this on her own. And I think she would have respected me more, and the relationship would have had this wedge of the money in between. And it was a really tough lesson to learn.
Well, it's a powerful story, too, because there are so many insights along the way in that particular story called Love and Money.